It's February 2024, which means it's a new year and a whole month of it has already flown by. I can't believe how fast time is just moving. Before we know it, it's going to be QuiltCon. I'm going to be hanging out with all of you, and I'm super excited about that. But before QuiltCon gets here, we need to get this video done and out the door. Hey friends, welcome back to my sewing room. My name is Becca. Today's video is a vlog for you. If you've been around my channel for a minute, you know that this time last year, I started a vlog slash podcast series, call it whatever works for you. All that format was a weekly video here on YouTube where I just shared some of my quilting life, my personal life, and I did that once a week. I love that format and I want to continue carrying that forward. But I'm being honest here, I can't keep up with once a week, so we need to scale it back a little bit. My friend Ian does the same format and he does it once a month. That seems to work out well for him and his audience, so we're going to borrow that format. We're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to get into January's recap in just a moment, but I want to let you know what to expect from these videos. Every month, when I do this recap video, I'm going to talk to you about my starts and finishes. I don't want to talk about the projects that are in progress every month. I just want to talk to you about what I started and what I finished, because I think that's probably what you want to see too. The second thing I want to talk about is a lesson that I learned. It could be something on YouTube, it could be something in my personal life, but more than likely it'll be something in the quilting arena. And then we're going to wrap up the video with some behind the scenes information. I want to share a little bit more about my personal life or some other things that might be happening with you, just so that you feel like you're a part of my life and we're having a nice, friendly chat once a month. I hope that format works for you. Let me know in the comments down below if you're excited about this new format, and let's just dive in to the January update. Hey, let me stop you right here because I realized I made a boo-boo before we jump into the update. I already recorded this video and posted it and had about 700 or 800 views, and the comments I got were overwhelming, and I think I didn't explain myself clearly. So I'm adding this in from the future to make sure I explain myself clearly, and we're going to re-upload the vlog. When I said I'm taking this back to once a month, I was talking about just the vlog. I'm not talking about my regular upload schedule. I still plan to produce at least one video a week plus my Friday night live stream. I just want to focus on a monthly recap video so that those other weeks of the month, I can focus on other types of content like tutorials, sew-alongs, and quilt shows. I hope that helps. Back to the video. The first start I want to talk about is the Lisa the Unicorn. This was a project that I got to do with my friend Tiffany on a live stream right here on this channel, and I will link to that live stream in the description box down below if you want to check it out. During this live stream, we had all of our fabric already starched and cut and labeled according to the Lisa the Unicorn pattern by Elizabeth Hartman, which also is linked in the description box down below. And we just set about putting one unicorn block together, start to finish. So if you've been wanting to tackle a Elizabeth Hartman pattern for a minute and you want somebody to sew along with step by step, you can pick up this pattern, starch and cut your fabric according to the pattern instructions, and then load the video and watch it all the way to the end. Now, I did say that this was a start. Why did I say it was a start? Well, number one, obviously, it's not finished. All I have is the quilt block. It's not quilted or anything, but I have an idea for what I want to do with that quilt block. I think it would be kind of cool to make a mirror image of that unicorn, but do it in grayscale, black and white type, so that you can see the colorful unicorn and then the black and white unicorn and have them looking at each other. So I've got some work that I still need to do on it before I'm ready to load it on the long arm. I also started prioritizing the pandas for the Elizabeth Hartman Pandas and Sweaters quilt. If you don't know what I'm doing here, basically I'm making 20 of those panda blocks to put into a quilt for my friend Mary. And you can actually see right over my shoulder, I have one hanging up. That block is done. Because I started prioritizing it and working on it in January, I'm entering February one step closer to my goal of having that entire quilt pieced before QuiltCon. I gotta say, they're turning out quite nicely, and I'm super pleased with the results. Elizabeth Hartman patterns aren't as difficult as I thought they would be. Finishes are going to be a little different. When I talk about finishes, they can be either finished piecing or finished altogether. So I've got 3 finishes that I'm going to talk to you about, and they're all kind of in various stages. The first one I want to talk to you about is the Fat Quarter Shop 2020 Designer Mystery Quilt. I had to think about that for a moment. This is a quilt that I finished piecing earlier this year, and if you remember correctly, I did not have the finishing kit for the quilt, so I had to figure out how I was going to put it together. I did a whole video on this, and I will link to that in the description box down below. Well, as of the recording of this video, that quilt has been quilted. It just needs to be bound and labeled, so maybe it's not really a finish, but it did finish on the long arm, so I'm going to include it. I also finished some placemats, and when I say finished, I mean fully finished. I've been dying to have a set of placemats that are resistant to spills and stains and food, and I found some fabric that definitely meets that criteria. I used some special fabric from a place called Splash Fabric, and I just cut them into standard placemat sizes and put them together. I did a video tutorial on that and demonstrated the Splash Fabric in there as well. So if you want to check out that video, it'll be linked down in the description box as well. These are fully finished. They're on my table and I'm using them. So that's a finish. I'm saving the best for last, and that is my lion. I am so happy to tell you that Mufasa is fully pieced, and I even know who's going to quilt it. So I'm really excited about this one. If you don't know what Mufasa is, let me bring you up to speed. Back in November of 2023, wow, I just realized how that sounded. It sounded like it was forever ago, and it wasn't. But back in November of 2023, Donna from Handmade by Ying and Mike Odell from Legit Kits got together and challenged a bunch of quilters on YouTube to take on the Legit lion. Some of us got just the pattern, some of us got the kit, and all of us were tasked with making the lion and then sharing it with our communities. Donna, of course, finished hers lightning speed and got it done, and the rest of us have been trucking along trying to get this done. Mine is finished, and I'm really excited to share it with you. What I did is modified the Legit Kit lion. The background of the lion was in different shades of green, and I replaced that with a black from the Ombre Fairy Dust by V&Co from Moda Fabric, so that it's kind of got like this night sky effect. I even added a moon element to the quilt, and I took a look at the mane for the lion. Anywhere where there was green in the mouth or the mane, I wanted that gone. So I had to think about what color needed to replace that green and still keep that same shading that Legit Kits had designed for the lion. In the end, I love how this turned out. There are several of us that are still working on this Legit Kit lion, and once they are all done, I believe Donna from Handmade by Ying is going to have a special video where everybody comes together and shares their finish and talks about why they did what they did. So you'll want to keep an eye out for that. Once that video is made available, I'll make sure to post it in the description box down below in case you're watching this at some point in the future. By the way, if you want to pick up a Legit Kit, I have an affiliate link for you. It's in the description box. My lesson learned this month actually has to do with Mufasa. During one of the live streams in the month of January, I had Mufasa hanging up on the shelves behind me, as I so often do when I'm working on a project, and somebody in the audience, and I can't remember who it was, but somebody mentioned that there was a piece of fabric underneath his chin that looked like maybe it was out of place. Well, honestly, when that comment came in, I was like, no, it's right. I'm not going to worry about it. But then I realized I felt like it was out of place too, and maybe I shouldn't just blindly accept that the quilt was right. So I took the quilt pattern, I looked at the picture, and lo and behold, that piece of light fabric should have actually been brown, so I had to fix it. This is a quilt that I really want to enter into quilt shows, and because of that, I don't want to leave a mistake in it. So I had to figure out how to fix it. Here's what I did. I got out my seam ripper, I pulled the quilt top over here, and I very carefully removed the piece of fabric by ripping the seams all the way around that and then going beyond by just an inch or so. Then I took that piece of fabric that I surgically removed from the quilt top, pressed it nice and flat, and used it as a template for the right color that I needed. Now, the beauty of this is there was already the seam allowance included, so I just really had to cut a piece of fabric from the right color, the same exact size. And then I needed to work it back into the quilt. There were Y seams and partial seams, so it was a bit of a pain. I had to use a lot of pins to keep things all nice and pinned, but in the end, the finished product looks so much better with the dark fabric under his chin. This was honestly a more advanced technique and not one that I would recommend to a beginner. If you have a wrong piece of fabric in a project, whether it was FPP or not, and you are a beginner, you might want to consider just leaving it until you're comfortable with dealing with Y seams and partial seams and all of that mess. But because I was able to do that successfully, I think I can now consider myself an intermediate quilter. Behind the scenes, not a lot really happened in January. It was kind of a low-key month. Obviously, we started a new year. The one thing that was predominantly noteworthy is I got to celebrate my friend Mary's transition from Virginia to South Carolina. For those of you that don't know who Mary is, let me just bring you up to speed. Mary can be found on YouTube in my live chats and in the comment section as the Crafty Panda. No, she is not the crafting YouTube channel. She doesn't have a YouTube channel. Her alias on YouTube is just known as the Crafty Panda because she loves pandas, and it's who I'm making, there I go, the panda blocks for. She lived about an hour away from me, and we used to hang out at least once a week, sometimes a little bit more. But she's decided she wants to move to South Carolina. And so over the past several months, she has been very busy packaging up her home here, putting it on the market, getting it sold, while waiting for her brand new home in South Carolina to be built. I am happy to report, for those of you that have been following her progress, she is officially in South Carolina. She is settling into her new home, still has a ton of unpacking to do, but I will be seeing her in just a couple weeks at QuiltCon. And if you're there, you'll get to see her too. We did get a bit of snow in the month of January, though it didn't stick around for very long. There were a few days in the month of January where a lot of snow fell. It stuck around for about a week. I think we got a couple inches accumulation, and of course, schools shut down. So Zoe got some snow days, and Jason and I just kind of hunkered down at home and worked from home. Thankfully, we have the ability to do that. So we weren't really impacted by it. We did not lose power. Super happy about that. The first year that we moved into this house, we'd only been here for a couple of months, and in January we got a ton of snow dumped. And when that happened, it took out some trees in our area, and one of those trees took out a power line to our house. And so we were without power for a couple of days. So every time it snows, since then, we're always crossing our fingers hoping that we don't lose power. We do have a backup generator so we can have some power to the house, but we still haven't invested in a whole house generator yet. That's a future project. My mom is here. She's been enjoying spending time with her grand puppies and her granddaughter. I love having my mom here. In fact, Jason's mom has been here quite a bit too. So we've had both of the mothers living in our home. I am very grateful that our house is large enough that we can accommodate that. It's also large enough for guests, apparently, because our door has been a revolving door since about October. We have not had a visitor in our home since then. When my mom leaves in March and Jason's mom goes back home, I don't know what we're going to do when it's back to just the three of us. Might have to find another guest to come stay with us for a while. Thank you, friends, so much for tuning in to January's update. I hoped you liked this format. If you did, let me know in the comments down below. Stay tuned for next week's video. I have got a tutorial that I am working on for you. Spoiler alert, it is another bag pattern from Center Street Quilts. Looks like a complicated bag, but I promise you it is much easier than you think. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye!